right, welcome back to the Roundtable Unfiltered, where we have no filters, just real talk and raw opinions. And today, I got my friend here, Anton Potocki. Anton is a local and Canadian MMA fighter. So, Anton, thanks for joining the show, man.
Thanks for having me, Luke. It's always good chatting with you. So I was looking forward to this.
Yeah, it's awesome, man. So you just got some work done. What did you tattoo today?
What did I do today? A bunch of little things. But I did some birds on this guy's leg. Just kind of like outlines of birds. I don't know. It's not
Yeah,
usually it's not what I usually do, but I know him through my gym community, and sometimes I do random tattoos that aren't really my style, but I just do them because they know me. People come to me because they know me, as much as they come to me because they like my style. So I'll do things that I'm interested in doing. That is what I'm trying to market myself towards. But then sometimes I'll do random things like script and outlines of birds. But it is what it
well,
is. It pays the bills. So
for sure. No, it really does. Do you, so explain this one to me. So I find like birds is such a common thing that people get tattooed. What's your theory behind that?
birds, like why people get them?
Yeah, I feel like that's a very common thing that a lot of
Yeah.
people get tattooed. Yeah.
Well, I know from a tattoo history standpoint, birds were often tattooed on sailors. It was kind of brought up in sailor culture.
Mm,
They the sailors would go all over the world and harbor in different countries and different places where they would pick up these tattoos. And to my understanding, the the swallow tattoo, or like that traditional kind of
oh
American
yeah.
traditional bird tattoo. I think it represents being away at sea, and a lot of these tattoos that seem so common today are just kind of held up the test of time, tend to
Hmm.
kind of be grounded in that kind of historical background, like anchors and swallows and Jesus pieces, things like that. It was all kind
Hmm.
of tied into these travelers who would travel all over the world via sea and collect these tattoos. And that's how we got exposed to like the Japanese style of tattooing, and why you'll see a lot of similarities between
Hmm.
American traditional and Japanese traditional, because they were kind of exchanging
Yeah.
knowledge and information. But I think I would assume that's why it is. And I mean, humans are we're predictable. We kind of repeat. We mimic each other. We don't really.
Re- yeah.
There's not like anything. I feel like there's nothing new under the sun. We kind of just see something we like.
We garbage and recycle everything, right?
That's just it. And then
Yeah.
some artists will throw like a little white highlight on something, or throw in a color tone that maybe another artist didn't use. Now it's theirs. But in reality, they're just biting off of somebody else's shit.
I'm gonna lose my mind if I see one more person with a tattoo with the anchor that says "I refuse to sink." I hate it gets so recycled so many times, and
Yeah.
I can only imagine it's like as an artist that again, if someone pays you to put art on them, you do it, right? But like I feel like for yourself, and what I hear from you is you're kind of like you like to just do unique things. So everybody, there's for myself, I got a snake tattoo, and there's a lot of people that have snake tattoos. It's a thing for sure, but I feel like if you can have an artist that does something that's unique and they create themselves, I think that's why I enjoy going to a regular ink artist, because you know their style and they do something unique just for you, and it's gonna be your thing, right? Because if everybody just got a cobra on their back, well, everybody's got a cobra, and there's nothing new about it. But if you can get something kind of unique and something different, like one day for me, I want to get something like going with the red serpent, I call it. And
Mhm.
I don't know, man. Like I just find like I when you're trying to look at for me, when I try to look up ideas for my artist who actually is moving out of Sarnia, Ontario now, unfortunately, um, I'll look up like tattoo ideas for things that I want, and it'll just be like just a whole page on Google Images of like the same thing. So
Yeah.
it sucks. It sucks that like I can't find anything like kind of unique, and then something I want to bring to him and be like, I like this, but can you do something cool with it,
Hmm.
and something
Yeah.
that seems more just unique and something personable for me. So I don't know, man.
No, it's funny you should say that, because there was a time where people would just go to a tattoo shop and they would just pick something off the wall, which means that hundreds of people have that exact same design on them, right? But it wasn't about going to an artist for their vision. It was about just getting a tattoo, because
Hmm.
it's a growing industry. And 50, 60 years ago, that's what it was. You were going into like an underground biker shop and you were getting that skull that
Exactly.
was on the wall. So we're fortunate enough to live in a time where there's so much innovation that artists are able to like express their vision, and people will go to somebody because they want my style of snake, not just the cobra that's on the wall. It's going to be how I draw a cobra. And obviously, artists are all going to have the similar inspiration and influences. My favorite artists are probably shared with many other tattoo artists. Are sorry, how do I say this? Like, the artists that I look up to are looked up to by so many other artists as well. So there's going to be similarities in my style with somebody else who's maybe pursuing a similar style, based on the fact that our inspiration and our influences were the same, right? But at the same time, it's like, it's not necessarily stealing. It's like everything is borrowed. We borrow information, we learn. It's collaborative, and that's the beautiful thing about art. And the same thing with like martial arts, right? You can just say that, oh, I'm just copying my coach, or did I learn from my coach? I took the information and I made it my own,
Yeah.
right? And that's the same thing for tattoos. It's funny you should say that when you do a Google search for a cobra tattoo, and you'll see it's the exact same reference was used. And I
Literally.
think
Yeah.
there's a difference between a tattoo artist and a tattoo technician. And I'm not knocking either one, but I pride myself in drawing everything by hand. If you give me a reference, if you give me a picture of another tattoo that you like, I'm not going to copy that because it's somebody else's tattoo. But I get an idea of the vibe you're going for, and that's how I can kind of get an idea of the placement and color, things like that. But I'm always going to draw it from scratch. And then there's tattoo technicians who know how to use a machine. They know how to work the skin. They know how to not fuck
Yeah.
anybody up, and they're just good at like kind of replicating. They create stickers. They take that one off the wall and they can repeat it consistently 10 times over. I think there's space for both types of artists in the industry, but I personally would rather create than imitate or recreate.
And I respect people. So my wife, she finally got her first tattoo, and she got
Okay.
basically got on her ass, right? So for her, she got the first one, right, and it was her team. It was her team name, Coyotes, right? But the whole team got it. So I think they got all the same style, same kind of idea. I don't know if they all got in the same place, but you know what I mean? Like they all got the same style of lettering, same format, everything. So I respect that, especially if it comes down to like if you're part of a team or you're part of I guess a gang, but like part of like you're part of an organization, or say if you're at an MMA gym and everybody and you get such a close night, like such a a tight gym, right? And everybody wants to get a tattoo of like I don't know, whatever. If there's something meaning behind it, everyone wants to get it in a certain spot because it's just part of it. I think I can respect that, but for me, that's why I'm like really careful. Like if I get a tattoo, I don't tell anybody like, well, what are you getting? I'm like, I'll tell them what I'm getting, but I'm like, I'm not showing anybody because I just get a little like paranoid. Like I don't want anybody to know the style I'm going for because then like I don't know. It's just I get a little superstitious like that, and I'm just more like I don't want to tell people because then people are like, oh, that's a great idea, and then they go and run around and oh yeah,
Mhm.
man, check out the snake I got on my arm. It's like, bro, like no, you're not supposed to do that.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Yeah,
yeah,
it's almost like, and also I find that I always tell people when they're getting a tattoo, and I don't even like showing them the design too far ahead,
mhm,
because I know what they're going to do is they're going to show it to their friends and their
yeah,
girlfriends and this and their that, and everybody's going to have their opinion, and it's going to warp your perspective based on what other people
yeah,
are, how they view it, because art is subjective, right? What matters is you look at it and you like it, and
exactly.
But like oftentimes, you know, if someone's like, "Can I get a design update?" and I'll send it to them a week before the appointment. I know come Thursday, Friday, Saturday, they're gonna have all these little like adjustments they want me to make because you know you look at it for long enough, you're gonna see things. But at the end of the day, you have to be able to relinquish control. You got to just surrender to the process and just trust the artist. That's why
Yeah.
it's like if you're in a position where you're questioning the artist's every move, every how he shapes his hands or how he draws noses or how he does scales on a snake. If you're questioning all that, you pick the wrong artist to begin with. You should find somebody whose art you love, and then you're willing to just give all your trust into them. You know. So I always tell people to just pick an artist you respect and that you like and you appreciate, and then give them full control because the longer you sit on a design or the more people you show or the more friends you talk about it, everybody's going to have their little like, oh, why is it so big, or why is it this color, oh, you should do this, get them to do this, and then it just fills people's heads with bullshit, you know.
Yeah. Now, in every service you do, right? You have artists, you have ink artists, you have people that do tattoos, you have people that cut hair, and you have people that do massages. In every kind of service, I think you can relate. Everyone can relate. You have your clients that are very talkative. You have the clients that are just like, nope, just cut my hair, do my arm, or do my ink, do whatever. And then you have people that are kind of like they'll chat if you make up the conversation, but if not, it's like quiet the whole time. And you're just like doing your thing, right? For you, have you ever had clients just come in and they want to get ink done, but then the whole time they're just like, "So when's your next fight? Like when? Like so in this fight, what happened here? Like and they're just like yep, and you're like you want to get your work done, but it's like, all right, like you're just always like you're sensory overload of like 4 hours of doing tattoos, and you're like, okay, enough about fight talk.
Yeah, no, for sure. You know, it's I get everything in between, you know, from people who are super chatty to people who at the end of the session they said nothing. You don't even know if they like the tattoo or not. Like they just have no emotion. But then they'll book in with you like the next week. You're like, oh, okay, I guess you like the piece. You know, it's some
Yeah.
people are hard to read. I just try to go into every session, just like I just try to clear my mind. You know, I want to be of service to them. I want to be a good host, and I want to be hospitable. So I don't want to go in attached to whatever feelings I had leading up to that day. Maybe I had a hard training session. Maybe I was tired. Maybe I'm whatever excuse to not be at my best.
Mhm.
It's not fair because this is a big deal for somebody. They're trusting me to permanently modify their body, and to
Yeah.
put my art on them. So the least I can do is give them the time of day, whether it's they want me to just shut the fuck up and tattoo, or if they want to talk to me about their kids, whatever. So I'm just of service. I'm as you can tell, I'm down to chat. I like to chat, but I also like to just put my nose down and just get to work, and I get things done a lot faster if people are quiet, that's for sure. But I'm yeah, like I just try to enter each tattoo session from like a neutral standpoint so
Hmm.
that I let them guide where they want the conversation to go. If they want to talk or if they want to just chill. Some people just put on headphones, and I have people that fall asleep, and then I have other people that are telling me about their like, their dead grandmother and shit, and it's like a therapy session. But I'm good with whatever. I like people, and that's one of the big parts that I really love about this job is that I get to meet all kinds of
Hmm.
really cool people and to help bring their vision to life and to be even just a little piece of their journey is it's a really
Yeah.
cool part to this job. So
I find like for me, when I got the snake tattoo, he started going into my hand. So it was about just over 4 hour session, right? So I think we're about like the last part. He was just doing all the shading, coloring in, and he started getting to the part where he was hitting my hand, and I've been chatty the whole time, and everything's good, and everything. And he starts getting in my hand, and I'm chatting. I was talking about some story, and I get halfway through, and he started getting the spots where it was starting to hurt, and I totally shut up for like 5 minutes, and he turns to me, he says, "You're hurting, aren't you?" I'm like, "Yeah." He's like,
yeah,
"Well, I can hear you because you didn't finish your sentence, and you just got completely quiet for like the last 5 minutes. So you're hurting, aren't you?" And he's like, "Yeah, I knew it was coming. I knew it was coming." He's like, "This guy's yep, 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 yep." And then next thing you know, you're like, "It's like, bro, you really are hurting." I'm like, "It's not feeling good," but
hundred
yeah, man.
percent.
Yeah, I feel like I've seen people who have had. Oh man, I had this one kid at some gym, and the kid was like 18. He got this big tattoo like going up like the side of his neck, and I'm like, oh, that's cool, man. Like, hey, good for you. How old are you? He's like, oh, I'm 18. I'm like, good for you, man. Like, how many tattoos you got? He's like, oh, that's my first one. I'm like,
Uh,
bro. I'm like, dude.
yeah, yeah,
I'm like, yeah, that's pretty bold of you. Like, that's ballsy, man. And he says, and yeah, I don't know, man. The first tattoo I ever got, and partly it was because of my job, but because I was really nervous because at the time, and we're talking about 10 years ago. I'd been working in the field for 10 years, and 10 years ago, I don't know how socially acceptable it was to like have tattoos. Where now it's like anywhere you go, it's like people got tattoos all up their arm and hand, and they're like the biggest saint you've ever met. So it's like you
right,
can't,
right,
but we look at it 30 years ago, it was all bikers and gangbangers and all that just had the tattoos, and now it's so socially acceptable.
yeah,
And it's crazy how much you see it, and it's becoming such a big business. And I don't think it's a business that's actually really being like thrown out there. I think it's just being so socially acceptable that now everyone can kind of come out of their almost like tattoo closet and actually go
yeah,
and get inked. So I really like it. I think it's really cool, and I think it really brings a lot of character, especially when you see people with different art, and it really tells a lot about the person and what they're all about. And also it's good for like striking up conversations. Like I'll be sitting in the doctor's office, and I'll be seeing someone sitting ahead of me, and they're like almost like they're eyeing me up, like eyeballing me, and it's like I'm like, so what's that mean on your arm? Or you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
so it's
yeah.
just like, yeah, it's just kind of cool that way. But anyway, man, besides the tattooing, how's the training going? I'm sad to hear about that fight being canceled, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's it's a bummer. I found out like 2 weeks out from the fight, pretty much. So
Yeah,
it was just right in the thick of training, ready to go.
yeah,
Starting to think about weight cutting and stuff, and then I got the news, and it is what it is. The last time I had to pull out on him because I got injured. So it's I'm just happy that I wasn't the one that's injured. I got to walk away from that
yeah.
training camp and go right back to the gym and keep working on my shit. And he's unfortunately sidelined. So, all the best to him, and hopefully he has a speedy recovery. And of course, I'd love to run it back and fight him eventually. Just that fight just seems kind of jinxed. We've had multiple cancellations between the two of us, and
It
it's just
seems like you're almost in this world outside of UFC of like the Ferguson and Nurmagomedov like curse
yeah,
fight. Like that fight was supposed to happen like I think 3 or 4 times, and every time somebody either got hurt, some pulled out, somebody got sick, and it was just like that fight could never happen. Then obviously Ferguson, he just got older and he's obviously out of his prime, and then Khabib obviously retired. So this seems like outside the UFC is like the curse fight outside UFC. Like
I
just fight just cannot
100%.
happen for whatever reason. But
Yeah, it's tough because you want to for you to get to those higher level fights, you have to kind of just beat
yeah,
everybody in your region.
yeah,
You have to run through everybody. You have to be undeniable. That's been like my mantra for so long. Is just to be undeniable.
mhm,
Don't leave any question in anybody's minds. Go out there, be decisive, and just show what you bring to the table. So I just feel like he's a big name in our area that would be a big check on my list, and he'd be a big check mark. And yeah, so it just sucks that this fight's kind of been so elusive because he's one of the fighters that I'd like to fight, and there's a few other guys in the area that I definitely want to fight. Just to like kind of clear out the division in the area before I can start moving on to bigger promotions, bigger fights, international fights, things like that. So I don't like to think too far ahead, obviously. I just like to think of the
mhm.
opponent in front of me. But he was definitely somebody I wanted to fight that was in the natural progression of where I want my career to go. So hopefully we can do it again in the future. Until then, I'm just my training doesn't change. I'm just always working on everything. I don't not train something because I'm preparing for a specific opponent. Like the opponent I was going to fight, he was more of a striker, right? So you'd think I'd be doing nothing but striking, and I'm still working
Mhm.
cage. I'm still working cage defense. I'm still working my grappling and my wrestling and my jiu-jitsu. It's you can't stop growing just because the task at hand asks for a certain style or a certain game plan.
Yeah, and the thing is too, but one thing that a lot of guys I interview talk about is this is the young man's game, and you can be here for a good time, but you're not always here for the long time, right? And I think like at the end of the day, like, it's I think like for you, I think you're in a great spot right now where you're getting onto the unified cards and you're able to, because that's really, if anybody would say, is arguably the Canada's biggest promotion at the moment. Unfortunately, I just don't see Canada having a whole lot of promotions, and I don't understand why. Like, it just seems like they don't have many big pro organizations, and I wish they would. I wish there'd be a little bit more competition in terms of like more opportunities for a lot of fighters coming from amateur, going making pro and trying to get on the pro scene. Um,
Yeah, it's unified, samurai, and I guess BTC. It's kind of like the big
yeah,
three in Canada right
Samurai
now.
is doing a lot of great things too, but unfortunately
Yeah,
they're over in Quebec. And hey, I
yeah,
mean, I don't know how everybody feels about Quebec, but you got Ontario and all of Canada versus Quebec. So
yeah. Well, it's funny because like my wife is signed with Samurai, right? And they
yeah,
love her. She's French Canadian, so like there's very much of like a cultural kind of clicky thing going on over there. They love their they
100%.
love their French fighters. So
They really
it's
do.
funny because like when I go over there, I'm with Isabel, so she's getting ready to fight. So they're giving us the king and queen's treatment. They love her, right? So I get to see it, that side of samurai where how they take care of their people. And it's
Mm-hmm.
Isabel's one of their people and she's my people. So I see a perspective on samurai where they really care about their fighters and they really care
Yeah.
about putting on good fights, and there's a lot of production value to their
Yep.
shows. You feel like you're a part of something really, really special. So I love samurai, but they definitely they love their French people. They love their French crowd, and they have their fighters that they're building up. So, and I respect that, and I feel like every promotion kind of has that roster of
Mm-hmm.
people that they're trying to
Yeah.
push and promote. But on the flip side, it's the exact same thing with Unified. Unified is it's an amazing organization. The production value is beautiful. Like unfortunately haven't been able to actually fight for them yet. I've just gone there and cornered people, but I got to be behind the scenes and see how it's run, and yeah, it's a really well run show. Better than a lot of shows that I've been to. And the fact that they do it at Rebel too just makes it that much more special. I love that venue. So
So
yeah, I would say
how big is Rebel anyway?
you
Because
never
it
been.
seems like, yeah, no, I never been there. I mean,
Okay,
so obviously here's Sarnia, or sorry, Sarnia Lambton, where I am, and then you have Toronto over here, like 3 hours later. So
right,
I mean, for
right.
me to go over there for anything is it so what is it just a venue for anything, or is this made specifically for?
Yeah, it's an event venue. Like there's like DJs and musicians that play there.
Oh, that's
Um,
sweet.
so I've been there. It's so funny actually. Me and Isabel laugh about this because we had been to Rebel so many times, like for music shows and like concerts
Yeah.
and stuff. And then we made our professional debuts at Rebel and Prospect. So it was just funny how we're like, now we're the show. We would pay to go there, and now we're getting paid to be there. It was just a funny full circle kind of moment. But the venue, it's really interesting the way the cage is set up. It's there's two layers to the room. There's an upper layer where you can look down into the cage, which is more of like a
Mhm.
VIP kind of sitting, and then there's like obviously seats all around the cage. But it's just the way the venue is situated. Everything feels very close, so it just feels very packed. You can feel the energy of the crowd. You just feel like you're right there because everybody's right there watching you fight. It's very intimate. I find sometimes the bigger stadiums, like unless it's absolutely packed to the brim, it still feels kind of hollow and empty.
Yeah.
But this Rebel, it's a smaller venue, and they just pack that place, and the acoustics in there is amazing. You just really feel like you're in the fight, and I
Mhm.
loved it when I fought there for Prospect. Shout out to Jamie Champion and the Prospect team. I love that promotion. It was really fun fighting for them, and they put on a really good show. I feel like they're kind of the ones who set the blueprint for how to throw a fight show at Rebel, because they did it before Unified
Yeah.
did. So I just thought that they kind of the way they did it, and then Unified did it similar. And you wouldn't think that would be an ideal fight venue, just
Yeah.
because it's more for concerts and DJs and stuff. But when you put a cage in the middle and you pack that house, it's really special. So I recommend you going and checking it out live. It'd be worth the 3 hour trip for sure.
Well, and whatever happened to Prospect? Because I haven't heard anything about their shows. They did quite a few, and then I don't know. I haven't heard anything since. Did it just shut down? I mean, because it seems like it would appear you have a really good relationship with Jamie Champion. So I don't know if like
Yeah, Jamie Champion's he's a really good friend of mine.
yeah
I tattooed him last week actually, so we keep in touch. And
yeah
it's funny. He was like all through my amateur career, you meet a bunch of like promoters and
hmm
organization heads and all these kind
yeah
of guys that work behind the scenes, and you kind of learn to just like not trust any of these guys. To be honest with you, like you kind of go in with your team and you go in with your crew. And I just feel like I felt very tribal coming up as an amateur. I didn't trust any
hmm
of these like promoters, and because I know that they're being nice to me, they're being nice to my opponent as well. So I just kept it as like strictly business, and I just didn't try to really formulate any relationships with these kind of behind the scenes um, people until Jamie Champion. He was like the first promoter that like I just couldn't help but love. He was just such a good dude, and we became
yeah
friends like right off the bat. And of course, we kept it professional because I know he's putting on a show, and he's supporting the opponent I'm going to fight as well. But it's all good. But Jamie Champion, he's just a genuinely good person, and he would give you the shirt off his back if you called him at 4 a.m. and needed help to come pick you up somewhere. He'd be there. He's that kind of a guy.
yeah.
He's just a
Well,
he's a
I was gonna say you're not getting Uncle. You're not getting like a Uncle Jamie privilege going on there, right?
the Dana White privilege,
The
right?
Dana White privilege, yeah,
Yeah, yeah. No, at the end of the day, it's we were able to keep it separate. I understand
yeah,
that I have a job to do, and he's supporting both me and my opponent, but maybe just maturing as a fighter, recognizing that you two things can be true at once. Jamie could be my friend, but he can also be the promoter who's paying somebody to fight me. It's an
yeah.
interesting dynamic. But as far as Prospect is concerned, he puts James. Have you ever been to a Prospect show before?
Man, I have it. So they had one a couple of years ago, and I was so I correct me if I'm wrong because she might have been Amy at the time, but well, actually, and I don't know if you heard about this. Amateur MMA is now legalized back in Canada or Ontario again, which is a
Yeah.
huge plus because yeah, so it's actually really good for a lot of these Ontario fighters. Like a lot that I've been talking to, they've had to fight in like Montreal or like the Montreal Fight League or whatever. So it kind of sucks for a lot of these guys and these women. But anyway, yeah, so at the time there's a girl that fought on one of the cards, and it's actually my like best friend's sister who fought on one
Okay.
of the cards, and she was doing amateur, but I think she stopped fighting. I think, but she was actually really good. She had really good jujitsu. She trained jujitsu for years, and then translated to I'm going to try to throw some hands and see what happens. And yeah, I think she fought on one of those cards, and I was going to go to that show, not so much for her, but it would have been kind of cool to be like, hey, I'll go see my best friend's sister. Don't get me wrong, that was completely professional. I don't mean that like that,
Yeah, yeah, I know
but
what you mean.
yeah, it was probably even before COVID. So this is like going back maybe 2018. So it was one of
Okay.
their very first shows, and it was in London. And yeah, I really wanted to go, but something happened. Some stupid thing I had to do for work, and of course I couldn't just like suck it up and be like, oh fuck, you should have just called in sick.
Yeah.
But unfortunately I didn't, and I missed it. But yeah, man,
Yeah.
I really wish I could have gone. But yeah, I heard that like yeah, even that like the shows were just wild, and they did
The
a lot of
production
great shows.
value,
And
I
yeah,
it was something special, like from the like
hmm
just every step of the way, the media leading up to it, like they had camera crews following us around, recording like mini documentaries on me and Isabel, and just following our journey. The production value in the actual show, like the excuse my lack of terminology, but like, I guess like the graphics on the screen,
yeah,
like
yeah, your
the
graphics,
end.
yeah,
Yeah, the lighting, the music, everything. They had Robin Black doing the in cage interviews. It was
that's
just
pretty sweet.
yeah, it was crazy. Like my first fight, I dummied this dude in like a minute, and then I'm getting interviewed by Robin Black. It's crazy. And John Ramdean's cage side, like it was a cool, like it was a really cool way to be introduced to professional MMA. I'm like, I go pro, and then I'm exposed to like so many aspects of the culture of Canadian MMA, like these like legends of Canadian MMA are surrounding me, and it was really cool. But I guess the reason why Jamie hasn't been back with the show is because he just puts so much time and effort and money into these
It
shows. There's
really
never a
does.
bad
Yeah.
one. It's like you see some lesser promotions where they'll put out shows every month, but you go there and it's like, well, of course you can put them on every month. These don't cost that much. There's not a lot as much time and effort and care.
Exactly. Yeah.
You go to a prospect show and you feel like you're part of something special. I remember like I had so many people come out to the Rebel fights when me and Isabel fought, and that was the one thing my dad was saying. He's like, this is different. Like this feels professional, because he'd watched me fight my
Yeah.
whole life. He had been to over 20 of my amateur fights at least, and it's the prospect really made us feel like we were stepping up to the plate to doing something more than what we had been doing. It felt like I was like going professional was going professional. I was really stepping up, and if anything, it made you want to rise to the occasion. Having a good production and having a show that that they gave a shit about it and they put effort into making it something special. You
Yeah.
want to
Yeah.
perform. So that's the one thing I'd say about Prospect, why they haven't been back yet, and I hope that Jamie comes back and does it, because he does it so well. He does it better than anybody, I think. I thought Prospect was something truly special, and I'm just happy I got to be part of it for a few fights.
There's something special about the Canada MMA promotions. Every Canadian fighter I've interviewed, we always break down about how everybody knows everyone. I mean, Canada's so big, but the community is also big, but it's also so well connected, right? Like if you, so I've talked with so many fighters, and it just so happens a lot of them come from Niagara top team, and like I've chatted with so many of them, and they all talk about like they're all tight knit, but like they're all tight knit with everybody across the board. Like any gym, everybody kind of knows like, hey, yeah, I know that guy. Like what I mean. Like, and it's cool to kind of see how tight knit Canada is when it comes to mixed martial arts, but also with the promotions too. Because I think Canada is such a little. I think when after the departure of GSP, once he was retired and he left, I think it really almost made a lot of fighters hungry to kind of want to take that top spot and kind of lead the next wave to be the Canadian hero. Because unfortunately, it seems like the Americans and especially with the Europeans now are really trying to take over the MMA scene. And I think Canada's kind of stepping up, say, hey, well, hold on here. And I think it's really neat. And you're seeing so much Canadian talent come out right now. I think there's always been Canadian talent, but the reemergence that we've seen in the last like 4 or 5 years is just insane, minus COVID. But in the last 4 or 5 years, we've seen just like the emergence of all these fighters now breaking into the big scene and trying to be hungry and to get that top spot. And it's really cool to see. I mean, I know I think Jasmine Jasvidius, she out of Niagara top team, she's in
Yeah,
like I think she's hidden in like the top 6 or 7 strawweight spot in the UFC. So good for her. Just a
yeah. She
little
looked
shout
she
out,
looked
little
great
shout
in
out
her
to
last
her
fight.
too.
Oh yeah, she looked
Oh
great.
yeah,
Me and Isabel watched her fight live when they were in Dubai, Abu Dhabi. They were
okay,
no
yeah,
Saudi Arabia. They were in Saudi Arabia. Sorry, the last
yeah,
card and yeah, she did so well. It was just cool to see a Canadian that I've met personally. Be on
yeah.
the main stage. It's cool to see
She's
Canada
awesome.
on the map. Oh yeah, she's great. Same with like Mike Malott. All these guys who are in the UFC now
Yeah.
who are kind of like leading the way. He's kind of like Captain Canada in a way. And it's cool to see him. I'm always rooting for him. And Jazz obviously. Like it's nice to have some Canadians representing our country on the big stage.
Looking at that, and they're leading the way for what's potential and what is possible for each fighter in Canada. What can be on the horizon for you? So stepping into something like Unified, I mean, I can only imagine the thoughts going through your head is knowing like, hey, I stack up a few wins in this promotion. This could lead me to the Contender Series. This could lead me to UFC. So for you, last time I interviewed you, you talked about, wanting to be obviously before the fight was canceled. you talked about, being focused on your opponent, but obviously I can only imagine, man, like this is like being into this promotion now, and having the contract with Unified. I only can imagine how much I'm sure that runs through your head, knowing like, hey, I stack up a couple wins, and hey, maybe Contender Series is just on the horizon.
Yeah, no, and it's funny. I constantly try to silence that dialogue in my head because the more I think about what could come in the future, the less I'm thinking about the present moment and the present task at mind.
Exactly, exactly.
Now that I don't have an opponent scheduled, but yeah, of course, that's all I'm thinking about is like,
Yeah,
all the possibilities, right? It's like
right.
the board is open. So I'm constantly thinking about, what, two fights into the promotion will get me, maybe putting on a good show in front of Dana White can get me a spot on the Contender Series, whatever, or the Ultimate Fighter. That's definitely on my mind. But then I find that the minute I get an opponent scheduled and the contract is signed and I have someone to think about, it's like everything else kind of becomes background noise. And
Yeah,
that's through trial and error. I've had success in my amateur career doing it that way because I've lost fights having overlooked the opponent in front of me. Say it was like a tournament setting, for example. I had
yeah.
this one. Well, here's a specific example. I was fighting in the TPA Classic, like the North American Championships for Muay Thai, and I had won it like a few years previously. And uh, the first fight I drew in the quarterfinals was somebody I had
Mhm.
already fought, and I'd whooped his ass. So that for me, that was already a check mark. I'm like, oh, I got this guy. I'm going to eat his lunch again, no problem. So I was already looking at the other side of the bracket and thinking about who I was going to possibly fight in the finals.
Mhm.
And then I kind of overlooked the person who I underestimated because I'd already beaten, and then he ended up beating me by a split decision. And it was someone I should have destroyed. But because my focus was spread a little thin, and I wasn't 100% focused on the task at hand, and I was kind of thinking about who was going to be my potential matchup in the semifinals. That just took away my focus. So ever since
Mhm.
that specific learning experience, I told myself I would never overlook an opponent. And as far as I'm concerned, no, nothing exists for me past the fight at hand. It's harder, I guess, when you're in a tournament because you're going to be fighting multiple times in a day, multiple times in a weekend. It's easier to focus on just one guy when it's just one pro fight in a weekend. So I
Yeah.
guess it's a little different, but it was a learning experience. That's the thing about amateur, right? You get all these learning experiences, and it helps prepare you for the pro setting where every fight counts.
Mhm. So we've been talking for the last 37 minutes, and you brought up you and Isabel fighting, and talking a lot about you both being on cards. And when she's preparing for a fight or you're preparing for a fight, obviously I think anyone you corner, anybody in your team, you're obviously looking out for their well-being, but clearly it's going to be different when it's your own significant other. um what kind of like what do you guys ever talk about, like when she's preparing, like the day before, like the night before the fight, or she's cutting her weight or whatever? Is there anything you like chat about, like just knowing? And I'm like, is there anything that you guys talk about knowing, like, hey, like, just like, is there anything you guys chat about, like how you both feeling when after a loss or a win, or where you're at your career, like just knowing that you're watching you're watching your wife get in there, and knowing the potential in the everything that can happen in every fight.
Yeah, it's funny because Isabel and I were training partners before we were a couple. So I feel like our relationship as both teammates and as partners is kind of fully integrated. So
Yeah.
it's not necessarily like it's not there isn't like a okay, I'm wearing my husband hat right now, or I'm wearing my training partner hat. Like it's all one thing. So um, getting ready for the fights. I will say it's different when we're both fighting. When we're both fighting on the same card and we're both preparing, like we did for
Yeah.
our prospect fights when we fought on the same card and we were in the same training camp and cutting weight together, and that's a whole other experience in itself.
Hmm.
Isabel doesn't corner me; I corner her. So I have my crew who corners me, and then myself. our coach Sid and Jordan Texan. We corner Isabel, and then I have Sid, Jordan, and my striking coach Tony Pham corner me. So for me, at least from my perspective, like I have to fight and then jump right into this kind of coaching saddle and just like kind of shift gears, and then it's a whirlwind for sure. You know, jumping back
Yeah.
and forth, like going from fighting and then having to calm myself down and then be present for her. You know, and I will say though that I get more nervous for her fights than mine.
No, that's fair. That's fair. I think like
100%.
I think that's just the nature of being the the man. Like I think that's part of being the man in the relationship is or being the father or being the husband. You're just that's in our genetic code, right? I think that's us. You know, if someone breaks in our home, in our genes, it's natural for us to want to protect the family. You're gonna do whatever you can to protect the fam, right? So I think like for us, I think that just kind of comes natural. And yeah, man, I don't know if I could do like it's funny. So when I did my bodybuilding, like I can remember there's many times where, like, as it got harder and harder, like the wife was looking at me. She's like I remember the one time she actually invited me out. Her uncle does this. He does this like folk music stuff. Like he put on a little show at one of the local breweries here in Corona, and she's like, "Hey, like me and the family are gonna go. Do you want to come?" And I'm like, "Nah, no." And I just literally just got like I was like I was starting to really I was doing a lot of my cutting. I was probably about a month and a half out. And with bodybuilding, there gets to a certain point where it just starts hitting you like a brick wall, unfortunately. And you just start like because I mean I did nothing but like I was doing fast cardio, like I was just doing this, and this was my first time, so I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know how to feel it. Whereas more experienced bodybuilders, they're just more, you know, they know what's coming. So it's like, oh, just suck it at me, do it. Well, for me, it was like, oh fuck, like, and I was disciplined, but at the same time, I didn't know what to expect. So I was like laying on the couch. I was so sore. I didn't want to get off. And she just looked at me. She's like, "Are you okay?" She's like, "You're looking skinny." I'm like, "Yeah, thanks." And she's like, "Okay, well, if you feel better, come on down." I'm like, "Yeah." And I'm just like
Yeah.
laying there and yeah, and I remember then like I was like, "Shit." And I that moment, even though mentally I wasn't always there, that was the moment I realized I was like, "Shit." Not only am I doing this prep, but she's going through this with me. And I remember after the show, so I put all my medals down and we were in the hotel and I like laying down and just broke down and I was like, oh my God, this was like the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. And
Yeah.
I was like, fuck, like not only did I do this, but she did this with me and she sacrificed a lot just to put up with my ass. So it
Yeah.
was definitely an experience too. So when people talk about like just seeing their significant other compete in whatever they're doing that, you know, might put their body through extreme stress, I just feel like, you know, I can kind of understand. And yeah, man, like it's crazy. But I remember I think it was like the very first thing she said to me. We get back to the hotel room and she says, "All right, you're never doing this again. This was like the one time thing." And she's like, "If you want to get married," because we were engaged at the time, and she's like, "If you want to get married to me, you're not doing another bodybuilding show." And I said, all right, that's a deal. That's a deal." So yeah, if we yeah, it was pretty much a done deal. And I talked to my coach and he's like, so I was doing all the reverse dieting. He says, so he's like, "Hey, you ready for another show next year?" I'm like, "Nah, I'm sorry, coach, I can't." I made a promise to the wife, and yeah, man, and actually caused some reverse body like some health problems. So kind of luckily I didn't keep going through with it, but
Oh yeah, with me
yeah.
especially, like when I get out of a hard weight cut, like my body is like all over the place for like weeks. I find I retain a bunch of water, I gain a bunch of weight, and like no matter how strict I am with my diet following the weight cut, it's like your your body just goes, it's a shock almost, and I have
Yeah.
to, it's almost like a good like month or so where I'm just like I'm off. I feel fat or slow, I feel everything hurts, and it's just I don't know, it's just your body's way of just like kind of getting back to a baseline, I guess. But yeah, there's nothing worse than the weeks after a fight diet wise, because like you try to eat so healthy and everything you eat just seems to go right to your gut. It's It's so
bro.
frustrating.
I remember the day. So the day of the competition. So obviously, I didn't drink anything the day before after 10 o'clock in the morning, and then after that, I didn't drink anything. Just I was on all the diuretics and or not diuretics, but like the basically the legal shit you could take
Right.
that can help you cut your water weight. And I was doing that, and I had like basically no food, nothing. And the first time I ate from then until the next morning was like 4 a.m. I did all my posing for my coach. He's like, "All right, it's like a couple rice cakes with just a layer of almond butter, and that's all you get." I'm like, and my mouth is dry as shit, so I'm trying to get this down, and I'm like coughing on
Rice
my
cakes
feet.
and almond butter. That's like the
Oh
most. That's gonna get stuck in
yeah,
your
that's
throat
the
for
most.
sure.
Oh my god! And I couldn't get anything down. And finally, I go for my second spray tan. I come up and I'm cold and I'm tired. And then all I hear is because like after all that being said and done, by the time I did the spray tan and did all everything, I was basically woke the wife up. She got ready. She drove me down because like we were saying the hotel and then like the venue. It was like it was in Hamilton, and where the venue was, it was like down the road. So it wasn't like I could just go. I just be like, hey, you go back to bed. I'll see you, at 10 o'clock when we have the pre-show. And no, she had to actually drive me over, and it was like
Yeah.
-2, and I'm like freezing, and I got nothing because I couldn't wear anything. I couldn't wear anything because I didn't. You couldn't hit, and you couldn't take any of the spray like the spray tan off
Oh,
your
right,
hand,
right,
right?
right, right.
It wasn't dry enough, so I couldn't wear anything but like a fucking robe. So I'm wearing nothing but my like the spandex short or the spandex like the I don't know what you call them like speedo thing.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
all I'm
yeah.
wearing a speedo, and then I have my sandals on and like almost like a house coat kind of thing, and that was it. And yeah, and that whole day anyway. So the whole day I didn't eat anything except chocolate and honey and had my feet up all day long. That's all I did was eat honey, chocolate, do my pump ups and whatnot. And I'll tell you, so after the show, I finally get to eat, and I didn't listen to my coach. He's like, "Hey, don't drink too much water. Drink a tiny bit as you go, little sips at a time, and then as you go, you can drink a little bit more as the night goes on." I'm like, "Gotcha." And then nope, I was thirsty as shit, and I just started pounding back the water. Didn't listen to him. Felt fine, and we hit Harvey's, and I had like a burger and had fries and had this big like milkshake. And I'll tell you, man, it felt so good going in, and then like all night long, just heartburn and acid
Oh,
reflux all
yeah,
night.
yeah.
And like laying up, I had my like 3 pillows, and I'm laying up, and I was like, oh, shit. And like all night, and then I wake up and I'm like, I can't sleep. Go down, and then I'm like doing a bunch of fasted cardio because I felt like shit. And one of the people on our team, she looks at me, she's like, "What are you doing here?" I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna do some faster cardio." And she's like, "Why would you do that? Go back to bed. You must be exhausted." I'm like, "No, I'm good." And she was doing it because she had a show the next weekend, so she was doing an additional one the weekend after, so she had
Yeah.
to go back in there. She's like, "Luke," she's like, "I don't know what the hell you're doing. That's stupid. Like, go rest. Like, you're exhausted." I'm like, "No, no, no, I'm good." So my wife drove us home, and as soon as I got home, I just crashed, man. Like I crashed, and I was like, the high of everything that happened just was over, and just exhausted. I was like lethargic. Do you ever like so when you obviously I'm sure you eat cheat meals after the fight. Do you ever get like that lethargic feeling after?
Oh God, yeah. Like honestly, like first of all, I don't. I always have this like grand idea of what I want to eat after the fights, and like
Yeah,
I have this big game plan, and then I'll have to like struggle through one slice of pizza just because it's like your body's just going. There's from the adrenaline rush to the dump to the ice packs on your body, and then like
yeah,
everybody's coming to talking to you, and you're trying to hydrate and you haven't really eaten anything in the last couple of hours, and then everybody wants to go out and
yeah,
have the celebration meal. So I'll try to get through like a piece of pizza. Usually my night goes the same way. We because we always go out and get pizza. It's just like our tradition.
yeah,
So we'll go get pizza. I'll struggle through maybe a slice, and then an hour or two later, we'll stop at a variety store and I'll get a bunch of chocolate and just donuts and just just abuse my body a bit. But the next day, that night I don't sleep either. I have like the hot sweats from just all the
yeah,
bullshit I just pump my body full of. Going
yeah.
from eating
All that
nothing to
sugar,
just
yeah,
oh my god. So and then the next morning, same thing. I blowed up. find you gain weight so fast in those, like,
Oh yeah.
it's all water weight, obviously, right? But
Yeah.
you go from being like fucking 5% body fat, just shredded and like in the peak shape of your life, to just being like this roly poly, fat, sweaty, uncomfortable. Like it's quite a shift, you know. It's nice when when you've just gotten a win or a medal or whatever, so that you're okay to kind of let loose. But it's the worst when you go through all that and then taking a loss on top of that. That's the worst. But
Oh yeah.
um, fortunately, I haven't had to have too many of those experiences. But yeah, I would say that going from the fight life, the fight diet, the fight day routine, and then just like going balls to the wall, like pizza, chocolate, candy, you know, and everybody wants to buy you shots too. Like I don't drink at all, but on fight days or like after the fights, my coaches will always do a celebratory shot with them and stuff. So not only am I full of, you know, excess glycogen and salt and sugar, but now I'm also like hammering back alcohol, which I don't even drink. So like my tolerance is so low. So now you're drunk and it's it's
Yeah.
fun and
Yeah.
terrible all at once, you know?
Well, and because where you're based out of, I can't imagine you'll ever have a problem finding pizza at like 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night. Whenever you're done your fight,
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure.
what is the go-to place to get pizza anyway in your
So
area?
so when we're in Toronto and we fight at Rebel, we go to Slow
Yeah.
South. It's our a good friend of ours. It's his family restaurant. His cousin runs
Oh,
it,
that's pretty sweet.
and it's authentic. He's Italian, so it's authentic wood oven Italian pizza. It's amazing. Like I can't, you know, shout out to Slow South. They always take care of us after our fights, and they always rent out the spot. And they take care of us, and it's the best pizza by far in my opinion. That's Toronto, so that's not Cambridge. I'm not gonna lie, the food culture in Cambridge isn't the greatest. It's like a lot of fast food. We have a few like staple like
Yeah.
restaurants, but like in reality, if you want to eat good, you kind of have to leave Cambridge. Otherwise, you're sticking with, you know, Montana's, Fast Eddie's, you
Yeah.
know, the burger
I didn't even,
shops.
dude. I didn't even know Montana's was still a thing. I thought they like shut down
No,
nationwide.
we got a Montana's. Don't worry, they probably just got
Oh,
forgot about. That's it, you know.
yeah, it's one of those things you see it and then you never see it again, and it's like, okay, where the fuck? Like, yeah, for I think like if you gotta go get food and you want something unique, you gotta go to the big cities. I mean, Cambridge, I'm sure is big too, but like that compared to Toronto, you go to Toronto and you know you're not just getting good food, you're gonna get authentic good food. I think there's a
Right.
huge difference. Like I remember my wife and I, so we back in the summer, we wanted to go somewhere different. She's like, hey, we gotta go to that Jamaican jerk joint. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, I'm not big on like getting like Caribbean food, but I was like, you know, I was like we went to go see Deadpool. We went to see that Deadpool movie after, and I was like Deadpool. I was like, fuck it, let's do it. And went and I said, dude, some of the best food I ever had in my life. It was so fucking, and it wasn't food that it wasn't anything different. It was just jerk chicken, rice, and it said green peas, all right, and our green beans, and I was like, okay. I go in there, it was not green beans, it was something else, but I was like, it works. I was like, I'm not
Yeah.
arguing. It was fucking good, you know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Right.
yeah, and
Rice and peas. Yeah. Rice and
it was
peas.
rice and peas, but it wasn't the peas that I thought it was because it was like,
Okay.
peas. I was like, all right. I mean, I'll like it, but I was like, nah, this was different kind of peas, but it was good, man. And I
Yeah.
feel like
The red kidney beans, right?
I don't know, man. I can't even remember. It was all I know is it was good. The only thing I was disappointed about was we weren't able to get any Jamaican patties. And
Okay.
they look so bomb, man, because
Yeah.
they're all handmade. They're all so you know that they're all handmade. They're not some freezer made bullshit. And
Yeah.
that's a thing too, man. I find nowadays, like I don't know if you go on social media when it comes to food, the thing that's becoming really popular is everybody's trying to make food that's too healthy. And I mean by that is like everyone's trying to get into the whole keto kick, or everyone's trying to get into like, oh, I'm gonna make these sourdough like cookies or sourdough, which is good. It is good healthy. It's how your body can process the food, but like everyone's all into this ways of like making your unhealthy food kind of seem
Yeah.
healthier. And it's like,
It's
dude, just get your box of cookies and fucking eat your
That's
cookies,
what
you
I'm
know?
saying.
Like
Eat healthy 90% of the time, and then eat real cookies. Don't eat this bullshit. Again, I don't know. It's the same thing with like when vegans like they'll eat like imitation chicken. It's like, so like you're opposed to murdering chickens, but you'll pretend to murder chickens. Like I don't know, it's just like either don't eat the chicken or eat the chicken. You know, like
Yeah.
it's the same thing with like fast food. Like if you're gonna eat pizza for what it is. Don't bring me this fucking sweet potato crust bullshit. You know, with like I don't know. It's just for me, it's I think people have a really unhealthy relationship with food. So the only way that they can
Yeah.
actually get around to like eating what they want, because in reality they want burgers and pizza every day. So they just figure out how to eat it healthy so they can have these things in their day-to-day life, as opposed to being able to have the discipline to reserve that for 1 day a week or 2 days a week of a cheat meal, you know? And I
Yeah.
have no problem with that. I enjoy eating healthy, you know, but if I'm gonna eat a pizza, believe me, there's gluten in that crust, you know?
Yeah, and that's just it, man. Like for me, when I have my cheat meals, I don't just like to just go. Okay, I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't eat McDicks anymore. I might have Harvey's once in a while because Harvey's is like it touches the heart, man. But like I might get like Burger Factory maybe because they're a little bit different, and I'm okay with that. But like when it comes to like cheat meals, I want to get like good shit. You know what I mean? Like that's like yeah, it's still gonna hit your colon pretty quick, but it's good
Sure.
stuff that like you feel good eating it, you know, and you're not eating McDonald's that's just complete trash. Um, yeah,
Hmm.
man, and even pizza, man. I used to like eating pizza. I just don't eat it anymore.
No, eh?
And honestly, burger and fries are like I'm a simple bitch when it comes to cheat meals, man. I just
Hell
like to get
yeah.
my burger and fries. That's it.
You can't go wrong. I agree. Honestly, Harvey's is probably my favorite burger joint. It doesn't feel like I feel it's of higher quality than
I feel
McDick's, you
like
know
it's
what
not
I
as
mean?
greasy. It's not as
No,
greasy.
and they grill it on the spot. Like you can see them actually grilling the burgers. It's
Yeah.
not frozen, you know. So, you know, there's definitely different tiers of like shittiness when it comes to fast food. But I do like knowing that somebody like, you know, rolled out that patty by
Yeah.
hand and like made the burger themselves as opposed to just a box full of fast frozen whatever from McDonald's, you know. So I think, but that's the difference between like I'm a foodie, you know. So if I'm gonna eat a cheat meal or if I'm gonna have something that I want to eat, I want to eat it because it's something that interests me rather than like, oh, I just want to eat junk food for the sake of eating junk food, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Like I feel like if you're gonna have a cheat meal, that's fine. And I mean, at least for me, after my competition, I wanted Harvey's because I knew it was gonna be good, but I knew like I just wanted anything because hey, for like 12 weeks I didn't have any cheat meals, nothing. So I knew I'm gonna feel like shit anyway, so I'm gonna get something that's good, right? I want to get something at least I know is gonna be good. And I am completely agree with you. Like I for me, if it's gonna be something crappy, it might as well be something good quality, you know?
Right, right. And I find, you know, it's if it is good quality and it's made with like real ingredients and like someone took the time and effort, I do feel your body takes less of a hit. Maybe that's me
Yeah.
bro sciencing it, but I feel like if more, you know, there's like less preservatives. You know, I just I'm not saying that pizza's good for you, but I would say that, you know, like a ma and pa, like authentic Italian restaurant pizza is going to be better for you than, you know, Domino's. You know.
Oh yeah, 100%. No, I think it would, and that's the thing too and that's what I was talking about, like with um social media, and I think COVID kind of helped push helping like assisting local like mom and pop shops, right? Like and not because they're the ones that are probably hurting the most. And I think like that what that comes back to the whole social media thing is like it's becoming such a big thing to like for people to go and do their like you know freaking YouTube videos about yeah I went to this place today and I had their burger like I don't know my wife likes watching these they're like I can't remember what it's called but they oh, Devour. I think they're called Devour or something. And they go in
Okay.
and they like film, and all they do is film them eating stuff. And I said to my wife, I'm looking at my fat ass here. I said, okay, how are they eating this shit? And you look at them on camera. I'm like, there's no way that they're eating that whole thing and looking at their figure. I don't get it. I don't get it how people eat like
Yeah.
that and they keep their figure. I'm like working my ass off, you know, 5, 6 days a week at the gym, and I'm like, I don't see myself trimming down. So yeah, I
No.
mean, it's crazy how people do all this stuff, and it's like the social media of that stuff is just taken right off. But it's good. It helps promote the businesses, and I'm all right with that. Promoting businesses, small businesses, I'm chill with that. I can fuck.
Oh yeah, I'm a food account follower. Like my Instagram is 90% food. Like 90% food and maybe like 10% fighting and tattooing, but it's mostly like just the greasiest stuff. But I love it, man. It's a good thing I train because if I didn't work out, I'd be morbidly obese for sure. Like I love food so much.
You're like, are you like the kind of guy that, you're like a week out from the fight, you're laying in bed, you're scrolling through, and you're just looking at everything that you could eat in the world?
Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, and I'm like constantly tagging my wife, and like we got to go here after this. We got to eat this food. I want to try this. I got this like itinerary of everything I need to eat after, and then again, usually I get through like one slice of pizza, and then I'm like
Yeah,
going into like carb shock from like being
yeah,
so depleted. So, but yeah, oh yeah, no, like leading up to the fight, definitely you're thinking about all the things that you want to eat and stuff. But I don't know, I like eating healthy. I find like I'm not like the way my nutritionist has us set up is like I never feel depleted. That's
yeah,
the worst when you're still hungry because at least if you're full, you can kind of just put your mind at ease and kind of
yeah,
take your mind off things and not think about the
yep,
salt that you want. But when you're on some sort of a diet where like you feel like you're not getting the full nutrients that's required and you're almost starving yourself, that's the worst. So I'm fortunate enough to have a nutritionist who knows what he's doing, and I always walk away from every meal, even the week of my fight. Every meal I feel full, which is nice because at amateur, when I was just kind of figuring it out on my own, I would just starve myself. I would just eat very little and just shrink my body down, and you know that's miserable. And it's just funny. The first thing a nutritionist
hmm,
shows you when you hire them is how much more food you need to eat to actually lose weight.
yeah.
So it's interesting. There's a whole science to it that I'm glad I have someone on my team who helps me with that because before it was just a bunch of guesswork and just starving yourself and just praying you make weight. So it's good
For
to have
sure.
a professional in your corner helping you every step of the way, telling you eat that extra piece of chicken, you can afford it, don't worry. With him, it's been him constantly telling me to eat more food, which is nice.
It
Because I
really
can
is,
always eat
man.
more.
It really is. It really is. Well, Anton, we are running up on time here, man. I appreciate you taking the time and be able to come on the podcast and able to have a good chat here. I always appreciate it, and I always love chatting with you and having a good time. And so, for people watching this, be sure to like and subscribe. Um, and we will always have uploads every Tuesday. And be sure to just check out every episode, and this one will be up there in sequence. So, Anton, thanks for coming on again. And for people that don't know, Anton, check out Anton's stuff. Always keep on track of his fights that are always coming up, and hopefully Anton will get a fight soon. And yeah, man. Again, like I said, I appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, man. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. I always look forward to our conversations. I feel like you're like my go-to MMA guy I like to talk to before my fights. It's like becoming part of my like pre-fight ritual. But it was nice to just chat with you without a fight scheduled and just shoot the shit. So
Shoot shit,
I,
man.
I always appreciate the conversations, and especially this one. It was a little more relaxed, and I wasn't all beat up from a training session and starving
No, no,
myself.
no black eyes, nothing, no
No,
cuts,
no,
nothing, no
not at
stitches. I
all.
like it.
Not all. Well fed and happy and just chilling at home. So again, I appreciate the time, man.
No problem, Anton.